Thank you, sir. This is a great question that applies to parents that aren't in martial arts, so this was their first class, or in case of Yvette's sister, their first class, and to people practicing Kumse, and to those who are fighting at the high level or competing at the same level as the panelists here. How do you handle all the pressure? Who wants to put up their hand first and take that one? I know all you have an answer to it for sure. I'm going to see who puts up their hand first. All right, Mr. Stephen Lambdin.
I gotcha. So one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a sports psychologist was when you're dealing with nerves and things like that, and the pressure of competition. First of all, remember, the pressure doesn't actually exist. It's all pressure you're putting on yourself, right? But more importantly, this kind of feeds into being nervous. You just need to remember, first of all, we all get nervous. I get nervous, Yvette gets nervous, Johnny gets nervous, Claire gets nervous. Tim doesn't. He's a sociopath. That's a different issue. But the best piece of advice I ever got was that treat your nerves like waves in the ocean. There's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys, but what you have to understand is it's the ocean. It's going to be there regardless, so there's no point in fighting it, right? So as long as you kind of take that approach, I've never had too much trouble keeping nerves under control.
That's great. Miss Young, someone asked you specifically also answer this question. How do you deal with it? I like that visual, Mr. Stephen Lambdin. That's visuals are great ways to reinforce lessons, because our minds are a lot of people's minds are very visual in their learning.
I hear you.
So if you treat it like a wave, as he said, then that can help you deal with it. Miss Young, how about yourself? How do you deal with the pressure at the world level that you've been at?
Well, you know what? I actually learned from my sister, my older sister Yvonne, in her first Taekwondo class. I used to talk with her about me being nervous before a fight, and she was like, you know what? It's okay to be nervous, but think about it. There's two people in a fight. Both of you are nervous, and your worst enemy is yourself, because you bring pressure upon yourself. Pressure is just not, you think about it and then you build it up in your mind by yourself, right? Just as Master Stephen said. And just think about it as a way to, be more calm. Think about your other opponent feeling the same way as you, like you don't have to be nervous. Like I try not to be nervous, but my hands shake, my heart beats fast, I sweat, everybody's nervous. But think about it as two people in a fight. Both of you guys are nervous. If one of you is more calm, you'll overcome it.
Very good perspective. As Master Young said, is also important. We get stuck in our own mind thinking, but if you step back and look at the whole picture, that also helps with you dealing with nerves. Master Claire, and I'll ask you first, how about yourself? When you're stepping onto the mat, everyone's watching you, literally looking for you to make mistakes. How do you deal with that pressure?
Again, everybody gets nervous. I get very nervous as well. And I think it took me a couple of years, and I've been competing for many, many years, to realize they're all nervous. I'm nervous. We're all in the same boat here. But with Pumsa specifically, and I'm sure sparring is that way too, is when you step on the mat, you got to be on, period. You cannot show that you're nervous, because if you let your nerves take over, not only will you make mistakes, and trust me, I've made my mistakes in my career and I've learned from them, but it's really then to realize, you know what, at least from the outside, I want to make sure I look as calm as possible, because then that's going to infiltrate my inner being and it's going to calm me down a little bit. And just to take a deep breath, rely on my training, and just to stay strong. And I've had competitions where afterwards they're like, wow, you look so confident. But I remember feeling like this and like this. And it's just part of the game. And I think it makes it exciting as well.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. There's a saying that says, look good, feel good, right? If you put on a smile, right? If you just put up your shoulders, immediately your confidence level goes up, right? And this applies to everything, not just sport Pumse or sparring, but just regular life. You walk into a job interview of your class, you put on that smile and bring up that chest, that confidence just comes in. That's a great point, man. Master Johnny, what about yourself? How do you deal with some of these things that your other fellow athletes have been dealing with?
I think for me, it's a little different from any other Pumse athlete, just because I have a sparring background. So I consider myself a sparring athlete. So warming up, I'm getting pumped up. I'm listening to music, rock music, getting pumped up. So it's a little different than when I'm at a Poomsae championship where I see, everyone calm, stretching out, making sure their form and their bodies and on point for their Poomsae. But me, I'm running around, jumping around just like I'm getting ready for a sparring match. That's what really kind of calms me down.
Right. Yeah, that's an important point, right? We learn this as we get a little bit older, is that everyone's got something different that makes them calm. For some people, it's listening to music. For some people, it's being quiet. So figuring things out, if you're just new, or even if you're seasoned and you still haven't figured it out, try new things. Try listening to upbeat music. Try listening to classical music. Try putting in earplugs. I think that's important to always learn, to always be a learner. Everybody in this group, they learn all the time. I see them either joining other classes, and these guys are literally the best in the world, but they are still constantly learning. So that's also an important lesson. Coach Tim, what about yourself?
Frame me up again with the.
Yes, the question was, oh my gosh, the question is, how did you, and it's a little bit out of, now you're a coach, I guess we'll go back to your athlete times, and then maybe how do you tell your athletes, how do they get the nerves out when it comes to competition?
Yeah, for me, there's what we call an ideal performance state. Right? We need some nerves to do well. So having no nerves, you will fall flat. Think about any time you've been too cocky. I got this. Oh, he's not good. I'm going to fight. And you end up losing, right? You end up losing. And I've had it happen many a time to me when I was younger. Probably why my parents started me back over at white belt, right? Too big an ego, no room for new knowledge to come in, right? And then same time, if you're too nervous that I haven't trained in 6 months. Well, you should be nervous. You haven't done the work. So now you're inhibited and you're too there. So we need both. I need you to do all the work to be ready. And so you're confident, you can do it, but then be on that nervous part to where when someone moves, you react, right? Too nervous, you either jump too soon, like Miss Yvette does her footwork and you're like jumping. You don't want that, but you don't want to be like, it's a fake. She's gonna fake me. That's too cocky, right? We have a balance there. So for everyone finding that is there, our nerves are telling our body we are getting ready for a fight, right? So think about it. The last thing I'll say on it, out in nature, right? If we're going to get into a fight or a lion's going to chase us, we don't know that on June 1st, a lion is going to chase us. It just happens. But in fighting, we say June 1st, we're going to fight. And so now it builds up all these endorphins that would just save our life to run away from the lion or run away from danger are slowly building up. So now it's in our brain. So it's a different scenario, but our body's doing the right thing. So you don't want to not have nerves. You have to change how you view them, that is your body getting ready. And that's how I try and reframe it. That is them having their body be ready. Now go do your work, and out in the ring, it's going to go off.
Absolutely. That's amazing. To be